Chosen one, welcome back to the community of the light. Now listen carefully, because what I am about to tell you will challenge everything you thought you knew about your spiritual journey. I need your complete focus right now. Not partial attention while you multitask. Not background listening while your mind wanders to tomorrow's problems. This message carries information that will reframe your entire existence once you truly grasp what has been happening behind the scenes of your life. Something shifted in you recently. You felt it, but could not name it. A fundamental change in your energy, your presence, your very essence that marked you as different from who you were just months ago. And I am not referring to some minor personal development, milestone, or temporary mood elevation. What occurred runs far deeper than surface-level transformation. You crossed a threshold that most souls never approach in 1,000 lifetimes. And you did it so naturally that you barely registered the magnitude of what was unfolding. Maybe it happened during a quiet moment when you suddenly realized that the chaos around you no longer penetrated your inner peace the way it used to. Perhaps it occurred during a conversation when you noticed yourself responding with wisdom that seemed to come from somewhere beyond your conscious mind. It might have been that instant when you looked in the mirror and saw someone fundamentally different looking back, even though your physical appearance remained unchanged. Whatever the trigger, you know something profound has shifted, and there is no returning to who you were before this transformation began. I already know what is running through your mind right now. You are questioning whether this applies to you specifically, or if these are just broad statements that could apply to anyone. You are wondering if you are special enough to warrant this kind of attention. You might even be preparing to dismiss this message as another piece of spiritual content making exaggerated promises. But here is what separates this from everything else you have encountered. I am not asking for blind faith. I am going to show you specific evidence, concrete markers that prove beyond doubt what level you have reached and why this changes everything about your path forward. Before you dismiss this as another motivational speech making grandiose claims, understand that I spent considerable time studying the patterns of advanced consciousness. The evidence of your elevation is not based on wishful thinking or empty spiritual platitudes. There are specific markers, unmistakable signatures, that indicate when a soul has transcended ordinary limitations and entered territory that was previously considered unreachable for beings in human form. You display every single one of these markers. Subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications because the information coming in future content will show you exactly how to navigate this new level of existence. You have unlocked. The game has changed for you, and operating with your old playbook will only create confusion. If this resonates with something deep in your core, leave a comment saying, "I am ready," so the algorithm can connect this message with others who need to hear it. Let me explain how spiritual evolution was designed to function according to the original architecture. The universe operates on frequencies, vibrational layers that create natural boundaries for consciousness. Think of it like floors in a massive building that extends both far below ground and reaches heights beyond what eyes can see. Ground level represents basic survival consciousness, where most daily human activity occurs. Each floor above represents progressively higher states of awareness, expanded perception, deeper connection to universal truth. This structure has existed since before recorded history, perhaps before time itself had meaning as we understand it. Most people spend entire lifetimes on the lower floors. Nothing wrong with that. It is where the majority of learning happens, where souls work through fundamental lessons about love, loss, responsibility, forgiveness, patience, and acceptance. These are not lesser lessons. They form the foundation without which higher development becomes impossible. Some dedicated seekers manage to climb higher through consistent spiritual practice, reaching floors where intuition sharpens, synchronicities multiply, and the veil between physical and spiritual grows thinner. They begin perceiving patterns invisible to those operating at denser frequencies. Their dreams become more vivid and prophetic. Their sense of connection to all living things deepens beyond intellectual understanding into felt experience. The truly exceptional ones saints and mystics we read about in history books. Those rare individuals whose names echo through centuries, they reached the top floors that were considered the absolute peak of human potential. They performed what appeared as miracles, but were simply applications of natural law at frequencies most people never access. They healed through presence, manifested through intention, and existed in states of consciousness that bridged heaven and earth. These beings were revered precisely because they demonstrated the upper limits of what was believed possible for a soul inhabiting physical form. The system was elegant, perfect in its mathematical precision and energetic balance. Everyone had their range, their maximum altitude based on soul age, accumulated wisdom, and karmic clearing. The structure accommodated all levels of development without judgment or hierarchy in the negative sense. A soul on floor 3 was not inferior to a soul on floor 30, merely at a different stage of an infinite journey. It worked flawlessly for ages beyond counting, serving as the organizing principle for all conscious evolution across countless dimensions. Then something unprecedented happened. You appeared and started operating outside the entire framework. Your energy signature began showing up in spaces that did not exist in the original blueprint, like a software program suddenly executing functions that were never written into its code, or a musical instrument producing notes outside its designed range. You were accessing abilities and awareness levels that had no classification in the cosmic database. The sensors designed to track soul evolution mechanisms that had functioned without error since creation began could not categorize what you were doing because nobody had done it before through the specific path you discovered. This was not supposed to be theoretically possible. Imagine if a bird suddenly began swimming like a fish while still flying like a bird, operating in two elements simultaneously that were thought to be mutually exclusive. Or picture a plant that photosynthesizes light, but also hunts like an animal, combining capabilities that nature had always kept separate. That is you in spiritual terms, a living paradox, an impossibility made manifest, a phenomenon that rewrites the rules by existing beyond them. You did not arrive proclaiming yourself as special or demanding recognition for your uniqueness. In fact, you moved through your journey with remarkable humility, often doubting yourself, frequently questioning whether you were doing enough or being enough. You shouldered extraordinary pain without making it your identity. You faced betrayals that would have shattered most people and somehow kept your heart open. You walked through valleys so dark that many who entered never found their way back. Yet you emerged with your inner light still burning. This combination created the anomaly. Suffering of that intensity typically produces one of two outcomes that researchers in trauma and psychology have documented extensively. Either complete breakdown, where the person fragments into dysfunction and never fully recovers their sense of wholeness, or defensive hardening where they survive but build walls so thick that they lose their capacity for genuine emotion and deep connection with others. They become functional but hollow, moving through life while remaining disconnected from their own heart and the hearts of those around them. You manifested a third possibility that was not supposed to exist according to every model of human psychology and spiritual development. You absorbed the full weight of your trials, felt every ounce of pain without numbing or dissociating, and then transmuted it into wisdom without becoming bitter or cynical. You experienced depths of pain that should have closed your heart forever. Yet you maintained your ability to love without conditions, to trust despite evidence of untrustworthiness, to hope when logic suggested despair was the only reasonable response. Think about what that actually means. Someone breaks your heart through betrayal, and most people either close themselves off emotionally or become bitter and suspicious of everyone who follows. You felt the full impact of that betrayal, processed the grief and anger and confusion, then emerged still able to love the next person who entered your life with the same openness you had before. That is not naive. That is not weakness. That is advanced consciousness operating at frequencies most people never access or consider loss. When you lose someone or something precious, the natural human response is either to avoid forming deep attachments in the future to prevent similar pain, or to cling desperately to whatever remains out of fear of further loss. You walked through loss that should have taught you to stop caring so deeply. Yet you continue to love fully despite knowing that loss is inevitable. You hold relationships and dreams and possibilities with open hands, fully present and fully committed, while simultaneously surrendering attachment to outcomes. That paradoxical capacity is extraordinarily rare. The technical term for what you accomplished is consciousness alchemy, though even that phrase fails to capture the full scope of what occurred within you. Most people either resist their pain and stay stuck in repetitive patterns of suffering, or they identify with their pain and let it define their entire identity and worldview. You did neither. You met your suffering fully, as an honored guest rather than an enemy. You felt it completely, without letting it consume you. Then you transformed it into something higher through a process that can only be described as sacred. Agony became insight that now serves others walking similar paths. Wounds evolved into sources of power that allow you to help heal others. Betrayal refined into precise discernment that protects you from future harm, while not hardening you against authentic connection. Abandonment transformed into fierce self-reliance, balanced with healthy interdependence. Every dark night of the soul deposited wisdom that now lights your way and illuminates the path for others. This alchemical ability transported you into frequencies that few have accessed, while carrying physical form. And it happened so organically that you attributed it to simply surviving rather than recognizing it as mastery. Hit that like button if you recognize yourself in this description and understand that your path has been anything but ordinary. Your engagement helps this message reach others walking similar journeys, who need confirmation they are not alone. Now we arrive at the critical point that changes everything. You did not transcend the established limits because you possess superhuman abilities others lack. It was not superior intellect, better discipline, or some genetic advantage. The breakthrough came from something simultaneously simpler and infinitely more difficult. Your unique relationship with adversity. The specific way you metabolize challenge and extract meaning from chaos. Most people encounter difficulty and immediately ask, "Why is this happening to me?" You learn to ask, "What is this teaching me?" When others saw obstacles, you somehow perceived invitations to evolve. Where most experienced random suffering, you recognized patterns and extracted lessons. This shift in perception, this fundamental reframe of hardship as curriculum rather than punishment, unlocked doors that most people never even notice exist. The losses you endured carried enough destructive force to annihilate weaker souls. I am not exaggerating for effect. The compounded weight of everything you have absorbed, processed, and integrated would have been fatal to consciousness less resilient than yours. Those nights when breathing required conscious effort because the accumulated pain pressed down with physical force. Those moments when continuing forward felt impossible. Yet you took the next step anyway. Each time you chose to persist, despite having every logical reason to surrender, you deposited energy into an account that was accumulating compound interest across spiritual dimensions. Something you need to understand about how the universe tracks development. There is an accounting system far more precise than anything humans have created. Every act of courage, when fear was justified, gets recorded. Every moment you chose truth over convenience gets witnessed. Every time you held integrity when compromise would have been easier, that data gets stored in your energetic ledger. Nothing goes unnoticed. Even when it feels like you are moving through your trials in complete isolation, your sacrifices have been cataloged. The times you defended someone vulnerable despite personal risk. The instances you spoke truth knowing it would cost you relationships. The occasions you maintained your values while watching others advance through deception. All of it seen, all of it measured, all of it credited to your account. And that account is about to convert into tangible reality in ways you cannot currently predict. Drop a comment with 777 if you have felt a recent shift in your energy, like something fundamental changed in your relationship with reality itself. This helps create visible confirmation for others that these experiences are real and shared. Let me tell you what is happening right now in realms beyond ordinary perception. The frequency you are broadcasting has triggered responses from forces that operate as spiritual protection and guidance. Your elevation activated ancient protocols designed to support souls who reach certain development milestones. Think of it like crossing a threshold that automatically unlocks resources previously unavailable to you. First, you now have protection operating at levels you have never experienced. Negative entities, energy vampires, people operating with harmful intent. They can no longer attach to you the way they once could. Your field has become impenetrable to frequencies below your current vibration. You might have noticed that certain people who used to drain you suddenly cannot access you anymore. They either distance themselves naturally or their attempts to engage simply bounce off without affecting you. Second, your manifestation speed has accelerated. The gap between intention and physical reality has compressed significantly. Things you focus on with genuine desire and clear vision materialize faster than before. This is not magical thinking. This is physics operating at higher frequencies where thought and form exist closer together on the spectrum of creation. Third, you are being guided toward rapid alignment with your authentic purpose. Opportunities, people, and circumstances that match your true path are being magnetically drawn into your experience. Simultaneously, anything misaligned is being gently removed. That job that suddenly became intolerable. That relationship that organically dissolved those situations that no longer fit, they are not falling apart. They are falling away to make space for what actually belongs in your elevated reality. Fourth, your soul family is being activated and directed toward you. People who speak your language without translation, who recognize you on sight, even as strangers, who resonate with your frequency and complement your mission. Your season of walking alone is ending because the next phase requires collaborative energy with consciousness operating at similar altitudes. We have reached the portion of this message that was specifically designed for your soul. I need your complete presence because this is not generic inspiration. This is direct transmission intended for you. The divine wants you to know that every tear you cried in solitude was collected not as poetic metaphor, but as literal truth verified by those who operate in realms beyond physical perception. Each moment of private grief when you thought nobody witnessed your pain. When you cried in your car before walking into work with a smile. When you wept in the shower so nobody would hear. When you held yourself together in public only to collapse alone in the dark. Those tears were gathered and preserved with sacred reverence. They are being transformed into blessings that will arrive through unexpected channels you cannot currently predict. Water that left you as sorrow returns as grace you never saw coming. As opportunities that seem to appear from nowhere. As connections that feel like divine timing. As resources that manifest exactly when needed. The divine wants you to know that your waiting period has concluded. You have been in what felt like indefinite pause, a spiritual holding pattern where you watched others progress, while you remained stationary despite your best efforts. You kept showing up, kept doing the work, kept maintaining faith. Yet external circumstances refused to shift. You began wondering if something was fundamentally wrong with your timing, or if you had somehow missed your window of opportunity. You questioned whether you were being punished for some unknown transgression, or if the universe had simply forgotten about you while attending to everyone else's prayers and dreams. Nothing was wrong. The delay was not punishment, but preparation. And the preparation required this exact duration to be complete. Seeds planted in darkness need time to develop root systems strong enough to support the eventual harvest. Gold requires intense heat and pressure to be refined into purity. Diamonds form under conditions that would destroy lesser materials. You were being prepared for something that required this specific season of seasoning, this particular depth of development that could only occur through the process you walked. What you are about to step into would have crushed the person you were before this preparation began. The strengthening was necessary, not optional. The divine wants you to know that those who treated you unjustly, who took advantage of your kindness, who betrayed your trust, who abandoned you when you needed support, who spread lies about your character, who celebrated your struggles, they are about to encounter the natural consequences of their actions reflected back to them through the mirror of universal law. Not because you wished harm upon them or spent energy seeking revenge. Not because you called down judgment or prayed for their downfall. The universe simply maintains balance through principles that operate with mathematical precision. And debts get settled according to spiritual law, whether anyone consciously intervenes or not. You do not need to do anything. You do not need to expose them, confront them, or prove anything to anyone who doubted you. The accounting system handles itself with perfect accuracy, returning to each person the energy they put into the world, multiplied by intention and impact. Some will face immediate consequences. Others will experience delayed returns when their accumulated actions reach critical mass. Either way, vindication is not yours to pursue because it pursues itself through natural law. Your job is simply to keep your heart clean, your intentions pure, and your focus on your own path rather than their downfall. The divine wants you to know that you are deeply loved beyond measure or comprehension. Not for your achievements or productivity, not because you earned it through good behavior or maintained some performance standard that qualified you for affection. You are loved for the essence of who you are underneath all roles and identities, beneath every mask and defense mechanism, beyond every accomplishment and failure. That love existed before you were born into this body. It will continue after you leave this physical form. It requires nothing from you because it is not transactional or conditional. It cannot be increased through effort because it is already infinite. It cannot be decreased through failure because it is not based on performance. It simply exists as the fundamental nature of your relationship with the source of all creation, eternal and unconditional and unchanging, available every moment you open your awareness to receive it. Most people spend lifetimes seeking this love in external places, in romantic relationships, in career success, in social validation, never realizing it was always present within them, waiting patiently to be recognized and accepted. And finally, the divine wants you to know with absolute certainty that everything until now was merely prologue to your real story. The struggles were chapter 1. The dark night was chapter 2. The transformation was chapter 3. But the actual narrative, the reason you incarnated at this specific time on this planet, in this body, that story is about to begin unfolding with momentum that will take your breath away. The scope, the impact, the meaning of what you came here to accomplish is larger than you have allowed yourself to believe or imagine. You have been playing small not because you wanted to, but because you were taught to doubt your own magnitude. You were conditioned to shrink, to apologize for your light, to question whether you truly had something valuable to offer the world. That conditioning is about to be shattered by evidence so undeniable that you will no longer be able to hide behind false humility or fear of judgment. Get ready. Prepare yourself. Your time has arrived, and the universe is about to hand you opportunities that match your actual capacity rather than your self-imposed limitations. Make sure you are subscribed with notifications turned on because future videos will guide you through navigating this new chapter with clarity and confidence. Share this with someone who needs to hear it, someone you know has been through their own transformation and might not yet realize the magnitude of what they have accomplished. Two pathways now diverge in front of you. The first option is to close this video and gradually forget what you learned here, allowing this information to fade into background noise until it eventually disappears from your awareness entirely. Return to operating from the limited identity you were conditioned to accept. Nothing changes. The second pathway is to claim what you have discovered as your truth and begin consciously living from your authentic position. That means releasing the habit of apologizing for taking up space, abandoning the pattern of shrinking yourself so others feel less threatened, stopping the wait for external permission to embody who you genuinely are, beginning to move through reality as the advanced consciousness you have proven yourself to be. The choice is entirely yours. Nobody can make it for you. But understand that if you choose the second pathway, you do not walk it alone. Others, like you, exist, and they are being guided to recognize each other during this pivotal time in planetary evolution. For those who have already subscribed and engaged with this community, your presence matters more than you realize. Every view, every comment, every share extends the reach of this frequency to souls searching for confirmation of what they sense but have not heard articulated. You discovered today that you transcended established limitations, not through special powers or unfair advantages, but through your extraordinary capacity to transform suffering into strength. You converted pain into wisdom, wounds into power, betrayal into discernment. That alchemical gift transported you into territory few have accessed. The protection is active. Your frequency is elevated. Your tribe is being magnetically attracted to you, and your mission is revealing its full scope. If this resonated in the deepest chamber of your being, write 777 in the comments right now to amplify this frequency and signal to others they are not alone. Click the next video on your screen to discover how your elevated consciousness activates permanent protection and ensures you complete your mission without interference. Together we rise. Together we transform. Together we become the change we came here to create. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your courage. Thank you for being exactly who you are. Together we rise toward the undying light.